Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader. This week, we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. We have a rat apocalypse in Australia. We have huge inflation that has not happened in quite a long time. And we have Elon Musk manipulating the price of Bitcoin and Dogecoin, maybe for some personal profit, maybe, just maybe. Overall for the week, the Dow hit an all-time high. Markets were mostly lower this week. We had quite a bit of a dip on Wednesday. Steepest 3-day decline in nearly 7 months. And obviously, both in the international markets and also in the U.S. markets, a lot of people are starting to have very open reserves, let's say, right? A lot of people are talking about inflation, consumer prices, and also about the situation overseas. You know, we have Israel and the Palestine conflict continuing to spice up again, let's say. Other than that, global markets, longest losing streak in 2 months on Wednesday. Surging commodity prices there in addition to growing inflationary pressures in the U.S. The European markets are mostly mixed for the week. We didn't have any big winners or losers. They're all pretty much around 1% or under. Latin American and Canadian markets, the Merval in Argentina had a pretty big move. Other than that, Canada went down 0.13%. Canada will now be known as Canada. Other than that, Africa and the Middle East, mostly mixed as well. The only biggest mover there was South Africa at 2.88% negative. And in Asia and the Far East, including Australia, mostly mixed market, with Taiwan being kind of the outlier there at negative 9.21%. Bitcoin and crypto news, Ethereum, second largest coin, if you guys don't know about cryptos, by market cap, hit 4,000 for the first time ever and also hit record coins. And then we have Doge! Doge had quite a week. Elon Musk got on Saturday Night Live. Everybody was expecting it to blow up when he went on there. He didn't have very kind things to say about Doge. So we saw an almost 50% drop from Saturday to Sunday. Then after that, we had a situation where the U.S. Justice Department stated that they're going to start investigating Binance, which is the largest crypto exchange in the world. Not in the U.S., but in the world. And then that went down even further. And then to add to that, we had Elon Musk reporting that he's going to stop accepting Bitcoin for payments. He's going to stop accepting Bitcoin, but he's still going to keep it, he said. That's what I thought I mixed up here in the statement. So he's going to continue to receive Bitcoin payments, but he's not, I said that backwards again, didn't I? Let me start from scratch. So Elon Musk said that he's going to stop accepting payments for Bitcoin, but he's still going to keep it due to the fact that the mining takes so much energy that he can't support anything that has to do with fossil fuels because obviously the world is going to end tomorrow, like all the environmentalists say. And so that caused even Doge and Bitcoin to continue to go down. And then we had a report, by a report I mean a tweet from Elon Musk, that said that he's actually working with the developers of Dogecoin to be able to go ahead and improve the efficiency of the network. And then that's when Dogecoin continued to rupture back to the upside. Other than that, not big news on the Bitcoin front other than the situation with the Justice Department. This is why I always told you guys be careful because India is already passing a law, expected to pass a law where they're not going to allow any personal ownership of Bitcoin. Personal cryptos, I should say. China also, they've been cracking down. If at any point in time we have a situation where the U.S. cracks down, and obviously the U.S. is the lead for everybody else in the world, and then Europe starts to crack down, you know, it's like Bill Gates says about Bitcoin. It's the greater fool theory. At that point, there's not going to be a greater fool to be able to sell to. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make money, right? Because I've had a lot of friends that have invested in it, have done quite well, but that's just the risk, because everything else has a risk. So Bitcoin for the week, down 18.49%, just under 49,000, although it's still up 68.68% for the year in 2021. I will share with you that there's one investment that I like quite a bit that it's actually had a better return this year than Bitcoin, and that's silver. Silver is Even for the week, for the year, it's up 70%. It closed at 27.54. Gold is also up 0.72. It went up to 1,844. And in commodities, in addition to that, we had that situation with the pipeline, the Colonial Pipeline, which supplies 45% of all the fuel. We're talking gas, jet fuel, other refined petroleum products to the entire East Coast. Hackers hacked the pipeline, and at the end of the day, the government didn't get involved. They said it was a private corporate matter. They paid $5 million to the hackers. So if you're looking for a new business to start or a possible new endeavor to take on, maybe you want to become a hacker. That way, you get a little bit of money on the side, you'll be fine. So the cyber criminal gang called DarkSide was the one that actually took ownership of the actual hack. As I stated, the company ended up paying them $5 million, and then they're resuming the pipeline now, so everything should go back to normal. After seeing over 1,000 gasoline stations without gasoline. In addition to that, we saw some prices as high as $6, $7 a gallon. Other than that, the iron ore market, the futures market in China is exploding in price after China is indefinitely suspending the economic dialogue with Australia. This is actually pretty big news because Australia is a huge mining country, and China, with the biggest population in the world still and one of the fastest economies in the world, still needs to buy a lot of, things like comes from mines, iron ore, all kinds of things. So Australia being the biggest producer of iron ore in the world and China being the biggest importer, this had the prices exploding in the futures market in China. In addition to that, the second largest producer of iron ore in the world, which is Brazil, they're having a situation with production as well due to the fact that they're having a lot of floods there. And this is part of the reason here in the end, I always talk to you guys about a lot of the kind of environmental disasters or natural disasters that are happening because I don't really see them on the mainstream news, and I figured I'd share them with you because I think part of the reason why we're having the inflation outside of the monetary policy in the U.S., right? We've had 40% more dollars out on the market now than before the COVID. So obviously more dollars means more supply. More supply means the value of the dollar goes down, which means everything that's priced in dollars go up, which is the majority of the commodities in the world. And then on top of that, we have shortages because of the quote unquote COVID. So we have these two things, mostly the monetary policy, but we have these two things kind of attacking at the same front. And that's why we see a lot of these prices going up. Copper hit an all-time high. Copper is very important resource. Chile, the biggest exporter in the world, that hit the record high on Monday. Steel prices have tripled to their 20-year, above their 20-year average, and lumber has risen 400%. We now have the National Association of Home Builders looking for alternate ways to be able to build homes. If you guys didn't know, 90% of homes, all new homes, are built with wood, so it's kind of hard to be able to go ahead and diversify away from that. 10% are concrete framed, and less than 1% are used in home building is used in steel. Oil futures for the week, oil went up 0.72% to 65.37 in the U.S. International crude, which is called Brent, went up 0.62% to 68.71. And gold, as I gave you guys the percentage, it's gone up quite a bit, over $100, $150 or so over the last few weeks, holding near a 3-month high because, again, as everything else that happened this week, inflation fears. And there's still a huge, insatiable demand for silver, even though silver didn't do that well this week. Remember, it's still up 70% over the year. And the UK Royal Mint is reporting a 540% increase in bullion silver, the bar sales compared to last year. And one of the things that you guys might not know is that there's a lot of silver used in solar energy. So if we continue to focus on the renewables front, we're going to need a lot more silver to be able to go ahead and supply the renewable energy, like solar energy, for example, specifically. And that obviously is going to take silver to even higher heights. Financial and banking news, the inflation with the data that reported for April, the CPI hit a 13-year high. It was at 4.2% over the last 12 months. The last time we've seen that kind of increase was in September in 2008. Now remember, this is the official number that the government gives, and since the government always tells the truth and they never lie about anything, obviously that would be correct. So most of you guys have probably seen in the store food prices, it's gone up by a little bit of a different percentage, right? What I've seen being here in the United States, I would say that the actual inflation rate is probably about 20-30%, right? I saw some sausages, for example, that I would buy before they were $5. It went up to $6. Pay attention to the size of the packaging or the amount of food that they put inside the same package. You'll notice that is actually less. Now, it isn't just food that has gone up. We have used cars and trucks jumped 10% in price since April, the largest 1 month increase since 1953 when that gauge actually began. Airline fares, which isn't just the situation with inflation, even though obviously that's baked in. We also have the recovery of the entire airline market and applying here as well. That's gone up 10.2%. The fares for airlines. Prices for lodging rose up 7.6%. Car and truck rentals went up 16.2%. So everything is literally just exploding to the upside. And the factory data, if you guys remember, most things, I don't say most, but a lot of things are made in China, and the factory gate prices, meaning that the prices that are set there at the factories, those have gone up at the fastest rate in 3.5 years in April as well, while the consumer prices rose at a more modest pace. So everything literally is going up. In political news, due to the fact that the building of the wall on the southern border was extremely racist when Trump did it in a controversial move, now Biden is starting to restart the construction along the southern border wall. He halted it by an executive order on the first day of office because he didn't want to be racist. But obviously now that he's continuing to do it, he's not racist like Trump is. The U.S. is on track to receive about 2 million illegal aliens on the U.S. southern border in 2021. And in economic news, we have record number of job openings in the U.S. at 8.1 million, which is the highest number ever recorded since the number they started tracking in December of 2000. The number of Americans filing unemployment claims actually dropped as well. So we have a bit of a double whammy here, right? Everybody was talking about the Biden tax increases, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, the taxes aren't really going to matter because one, the budget in the U.S. is 80% debt. So raising taxes is literally just taking more money out of somebody's mouth, especially somebody like you and I that need the money, right? But it doesn't really matter because their budget is literally just almost 100% debt at this point. And then on top of that, because of the COVID, we have the stimulus that has gone out, which is very generous for people. So we have the majority of people actually not working. So a lot of people, especially in kind of the lower end jobs, which in my opinion are the most important jobs because that's what essentially powers our economy, right? We have, the truck drivers that ship all the products, the boxes that are put out in the food for Walmart. Everything that's done is literally done by these lower end workers. Okay. So because of that, the unemployment claims are going down due to the fact that because nobody wants to go to work, there's a lot of benefits that are being given to the actual people that are working at the moment. So that's gone down, but the record of job openings is up because people don't want to work. So if people don't want to go to work, it doesn't really matter what the decision they make about the economy, because at the end of the day, between all the shortages and everything that's happening, that's literally kind of skinning the cat little by little. So it's literally kind of taking its toll on the economy. Tennessee and Missouri, however, are going to end the federal funding of the pandemic unemployment starting next month. Florida Governor DeSantis also said that he needs to make sure that people start looking for work because they're going to have to prove it before they get the unemployment. And in corporate news, Tesla shares took quite a beating in the beginning of the week. They dropped over 6% on Monday and 6% on Tuesday after it was reported that they sold 27% less vehicles from April to March in their Chinese market. And the big boys are coming too, right? Porsche, Ford is coming out with their new F-150 Lightning all-electric truck. So they got a lot of competition on their hands now. In trade news, speaking of the auto manufacturers like Ford, the semiconductor shortage has costed these companies $110 billion in lost revenues. This has a consulting firm called Alex Partners, and it's expected to hit the production of 3.9 million vehicles. The car industry, not only the companies that sell the cars, but remember all the products, the individual actual piece by pieces that go into cars, huge number of jobs. So obviously if they're not able to produce the cars, they can't keep people on the payrolls forever. You guys can see how it's just one domino after the other. In technology, transport emissions in Africa are up by 84% from 2010 to 16. Researchers believe that the best solution is to install solar energy and off-grid electric systems for, renewable energy like electric vehicles that can charge off of that as well. God forbid there's some kind of, problem like they had in Germany where there wasn't any wind and there wasn't any sun and they still had to rely to non-renewable sources of energy. But hopefully that'll never happen in Africa because they have so much sun. And China also becomes the second nation to land a spacecraft on Mars. The Tianwen-1 touches down on the red planet just 3 months after NASA's first rover landed there. In investment news, the company Greyhound, the bus company, is going to stop their production, not the production, but their actual business in Canada, especially due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They stopped their Western operations in Western Canada a few years ago already. Now they're going to permanently stop all of their operations because they say, and quote, a full year without revenue has unfortunately made it impossible to continue operations. It's a big blow to the rural communities because they obviously take the buses from the smaller cities to the bigger urban centers. So that's going to, you can see it's everywhere, right? The products, China, Australia, Canada, everywhere you can see this kind of negative impact on the economy, and I'm afraid we're not heading in the best of directions. In international events, on Thursday, Palestinian militants fired more rockets into Israel, and now Israel is starting to, I don't know what the best word to use is, obviously protect themselves from the rockets that are coming in, but also continue to force an offensive against Gaza. And so, unfortunately, I don't think that the thousands years of war that they have there in your region is going to stop. But obviously, there's, that can escalate to a much bigger situation. Russia specifically stated that what's happening right now in Israel goes specifically against their interests. Turkey has also, which is a part of NATO, for example, even though they're a majority Muslim country, they stated that they want to, quote unquote, help the people in Palestinian. So this can get out of hand very quickly. So hopefully it doesn't happen that way and things can calm down a little bit, because I think at the end of the day, war doesn't solve anything for anybody. And in unusual facts this week, Schwab's 2021 Modern Wealth Survey says that most Americans to be considered wealthy in 2021 will need $1.9 million worth of wealth. That's less than $2.6 million that you would have needed to be considered wealthy in 2020. Obviously, the COVID took quite a hit on everybody. Well, most people, right? Not everybody, because all the billionaires, they love that COVID money. Wealth expectations vary by generation. To be considered wealthy as a millennial, which is ages 24 to 39, you would need 1.4 million. Generation X, which is ages 44 to 55, you need 1.9 million. And then baby boomers, which are the ages of 56 to 74, you'd need 2.5 million. Some of the natural disasters and environmental news: huge fissures along a highway in Mexico, central west region near a city called Guadalajara. They had to shut down the entire highway because these huge fissures opened up in the middle of the highway, in addition to causing effects in a lot of homes. Various earthquakes hit the Ring of Fire. We had 6.0 earthquakes near Fukushima in Japan. If you guys remember what happened a few years ago in regards to the plant that shut down the nuclear plant, and they had to literally dump the nuclear water into the ocean. We also had a 6.0 earthquake plus in Indonesia. And one of the things that I thought was actually interesting was, and hopefully they'll put the picture here for you that I got off the YouTube video. There's a buoy which is in the middle of the ocean above, very near to some of the islands there to the south of Alaska. It seems like this is actually coming right around the Ring of Fire, and this buoy actually dropped in 15 seconds 30 feet. So what exactly could happen where maybe the earth went down, but what exactly do you think can happen after these earthquakes too, right? So remember, we're starting to have a little bit more of these earthquakes pop up as well. What can happen where the ocean literally drops in 15 seconds down 30 feet and back up? Right, and this is kind of coming around. Hopefully nothing happens to that Cascadia region, which is the Pacific coast. They keep saying we're expecting the big one for a long time, and it kind of seems that way now because of all the activity that's propping up. There's a big sinkhole that drained an entire lake near St. Louis, Missouri. And if you guys remember, in that same area, we had the situation where Memphis, they blocked the Mississippi River cargo because there was a crack that was found in one of the main bridges there near Memphis. And if you guys don't know, this is actually, to me, kind of not weird, but not a bit of a coincidence, because if you guys don't know, the biggest earthquake in the United States in our recorded history was right along that New Madrid fault line in the Mississippi River. It was so strong it actually changed the direction of the Mississippi River. So we even have little things happening there as well. And then in Australia, after all the floods, the fires that they've had as well, now they have a mice apocalypse. It's so bad Hopefully I'll let the team to put the picture here. But it's so bad that even the cats are tired of them and they just let them sit on their head. They're biting through doors, getting into houses. It's pretty bad out there. So we have quite a few things going on in the environment worldwide. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you next week.